I think, the most exciting game of the entire day. And that was the Lions winning a 41-38 thriller over the Chargers in Los Angeles. And as so many teams maybe took a slight step back in how we see them, or kind of got pulled down back into the muck this week, the Lions set themselves apart a little bit, I think, specifically with the way that they played on offense. And to me, at least, reminded us this is what we can do when we're clicking. This is what we can do when we're humming. And I think they made a little bit of a statement, even against a bad Chargers defense, that a lot of other wannabe contenders couldn't make today.
It was kind of a vintage Lions performance, what you expect out of this offense. Some great situational calls, whether it's a late play action, shot play on a short yardage situation, some third down stuff, some fourth down stuff. Love always how aggressive Dan Campbell is on fourth down, but the fact that it just keeps maintaining as they are a good team, as opposed to a frisky team that has nothing to lose, as sometimes some of these coaches kind of lose that kind of aggressiveness as they become better. But this Lions team just attacking over the middle with Amon-Ra St. Brown, the run game, Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery. So everybody was happy, no matter what your fantasy ownership was. Everybody was thrilled with today's performances from the Lions.
Sam Laporta had a bad day relatively.
Okay. Rookie tight end.
It was one of the first times I think he was the number one tight end in all the fantasy rankings, and he had his second catch deep into the fourth quarter. Let's just say if you drafted Sam Laporta this year, you're playing with house money for the rest of the season. So no complaints on your end.
Positive rookie tight end is just incredible. But I mean, the kind of the epitome of all this was the 4th and 5 run play call, which was just.
I know you love that. I know you absolutely love that.
And then they get the next third downs, 3rd and 6, and they run another run. And then they get to 4th and short, and then they hand it off to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He goes for a first down. But the second push was so awesome. And that run and the David Montgomery 75-yard touchdown, it was a long day for Patrick Queen. Not Patrick Queen, I'm sorry. I was Kenneth Murray, and it was a long day for the Chargers safeties. Holy crap. They were just getting dug out by Amon-Ra St. Brown. They were not filling in the run. The David Montgomery touchdown, I pointed out, the safety was 30 yards deep.
Yeah.
When he's finally coming onto the screen, it's like, what are you doing? I mean, it's just like a first drive starting run play. But also the versatility of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I already mentioned the slot stuff, as we all know, but digging out the safety, making those extra blocks. He was a key point blocker on at least 3 or 4 big runs as a runner several times. And like I said, just doing over the middle, and that versatility, they're able to use it because they could do nakeds with him, use him almost like a second tight end almost. He's just a very unique player, but in his uniqueness, he's very good at what he does. It's really cool how they use him too, but great performance.
And adding a casual 156 yards receiving in this game. So
on third downs when they're looking for him, it's just nothing.
My favorite part about watching the Lions today is it felt like everything was coming together for one of the first times all year.
Mm-hmm.
The design is always going to be there. The situational awareness, the situational aggressiveness. I said last week when we did our midseason award show, Dan Campbell is my coach of the year. And it's not just because of the team results. It's because of the process that he's showing in a lot of these moments. And you saw that on the 4th downs today. So we know all that stuff has kind of been salted away. We know that Ben Johnson's going to be on his shit all the time. You saw it from the first drive today. They have that. They pin down the play side quarter safety. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown coming back against it with that big crosser for a huge chunk gain. You think about was there a 4th down handoff to St. Brown in the backfield? Was that 3rd down?
They gave him a 4th and 1. Yeah, it was after the 4th and 6 one or 4th and 5 one, same drive.
They do that consistently. They've used him in those sorts of moments a lot situationally.
Yep.
So that we know that stuff's going to be there. The question I had about the Lions coming into the season was about juice. It was, do they have enough playmakers? And now that we're starting to get a heavier dose of Jahmyr Gibbs, and even the Jameson Williams touchdown that got called back, just getting the ball in his hands, all of the boxes are starting to get ticked for me now, where the design is there. The offensive line continues to play great. They had some really good moments. The Jonah Jackson block on that Montgomery touchdown run. The Jahmyr Gibbs finished off inside the 5. Penei Sewell just clearing out an entire side of the offensive line. Eric Decker out in space on the Amon-Ra St. Brown screen touchdown. So now I have no complaints. I have nothing else that I'm seeking out from the Lions offense, because everything now is in line when you're adding that explosive playmaking element that they're finding with Jahmyr Gibbs. This team leads the NFL in EPA per rush over the last 3 weeks. Like that element where they have these home runs. I mean, I know David Montgomery hit one today, which is a little bit funny, but they have all of these different elements now falling in line at the same exact time. And that to me is very exciting. This team is going, and I think we were already there. They are so far beyond kind of quirky oddity. Oh man,
Yeah.
look at these guys. Like they are established now as truly one of the best teams in the league. And I think today was another example of that.
Yeah, I would say for last 4 or 5 weeks, whenever I kind of did that power rankings tweet in the middle of a shower, I've thought of the Lions as a top 5-ish team, top 5, 6, however you want to put it. But I consider them a very, the defense got after, they got their linebackers, spine of their defense kind of exposed today as well. So we can maybe get into that. But I would say the offense for me, in just the designs, like I said, again, the red zone, the third down, that's week after week. That's every week. It's one of the highlights of the league as far as play calling and play design. That's actually what made what the Ravens did a little bit even more impressive, what they kind of pants them on those situations. But Goff, when he's on, when he's not, when they can keep him clean, and this is a very good offensive line. So unless you have an elite pass rush or an elite plan against this offensive line and get pressure on Goff consistently, it's tough. They're going to find ways to run the ball, and they're going to be efficient at the very least throwing the ball. And then it's like, can you hold off anytime they get in the strike zone? It's like, here comes a shot play. Can you hold off their 4 or 5 haymakers they throw? If you can, great. But not a lot of teams have. Every team gets punched by these guys from shot plays, and just like they just take their chances and they hit them consistently. It's just a well-designed, well-executed offense in a league where there's some very sloppy offenses. Watching the Lions offense is very like, this is nice. Just a warm, cozy blanket of good offense.
The pass protection was fantastic today.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good thing to mention because Goff turns into a different player when he's got time to operate back there. And we saw the best version of him today. There was a play in the third quarter. It was like 5 minutes left. It was a 3rd and 2. And the Chargers brought a slot blitz. And the Lions picked it up perfectly. Decker went out to it, and he hits Amon-Ra St. Brown for a huge chunk behind it. It's just like they're just firing on all cylinders. Like every single thing is working for them today. They averaged 8.3 yards per play. One of 6 games this year where a team has averaged over 8 yards per play. They had a 50% success rate, which was the second best mark in the league this week behind only the Dallas Cowboys, who absolutely dominated the Giants, which we will get to. So just a phenomenal performance overall. And the Chargers kind of went toe-to-toe with them, though. Justin Herbert, it has not been the best year for Justin Herbert. The last few weeks or so, we have not seen the best version of Justin Herbert. And even for the first kind of quarter and a half today, their offense was struggling a little bit. They couldn't get much going, and then he was fantastic over the last 2 quarters and into the second half. Him and Keenan Allen, what they were putting together, they were able to go kind of punch per punch, but with what this Lions offense was doing, and that was incredibly impressive. But ultimately, in the end, again, I think Detroit just has a little bit too much right now.
Yeah, I mean, he made 2 hero throws on those touchdowns, the double post, but also the Lions linebackers were highlighted a lot today. And Zaloni and Jack Campbell, I felt like there's so many crossing routes happening. And when I was writing these notes, it kind of was the same thing. It was like, I always kind of go like, how did they score these points? How did they move the ball? And both teams was like, they attacked the linebackers. That's what both of these teams did for entire 4 quarters. And Herbert was just having so much fun doing it. But yeah, he had some nice creation moments too. In the end, like, so it was,
the one to Quinn Johnson down inside the 15, rolling out to his right was beautiful. He had a couple incredible throws to Quinn Johnson that didn't end up counting because he dropped both of them. Thankfully, there was pass interference on both plays. But I loved all the motion stuff with Keenan Allen too. Sending him right to left, having him run a dig back behind it, little jerk route over the middle after motioning from right to left or left to right in the slot. I mean, just so many different aspects where they're trying to put him in positions where he can make plays because really right now, it's all they got.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, they don't have much else in the passing game.
Angle routes and crossers and just the same thing over and over. It's great. This is what's nice when you have 2 teams that go for it on 4th down a bunch and they hit them and they connect. Then you get games like this.
That's right.
That's the plus side of these types of games. So especially when it's not an island game, when everyone just goes nuts about that one that they didn't get. It's nice. They went 7 for 8, but also we've talked about this, but I think everyone notices the teams that are comfortable going for it on 4th down, it's part of their identity. Like the Lions, especially, they have a 3rd and 14. They get a 12-yard gain on the out route, and this is to ice the game. And then they go for it on 4th and 2 to ice the game. But how they operate on 3rd and 14 is not, hey, let's get all the way past the sticks. It's like, we just get a nice chunk gain and, set up a 4th and 2. That kind of confidence, like you said, is just just they have an understanding of whatever the situation is. I think Goff has been a good trigger man for it, but the whole offense does. It just seems like a smart team right now. Reflects the head coach. I mean, honestly.
It absolutely does. And again, I
Yeah.
think that's why he had a really strong argument to me for coach of the year, because I think it's permeated everything that
Yep.
they've been able to do this season. This is a conversation for another day. It'll be fascinating to see what happens in a post Ben Johnson world, because
Mm.
he's going to get whatever he wants this offseason. If you look at the pool of head coaching candidates, there aren't that many obvious offensive minded head coaching candidates in this cycle. A lot of the guys that we've been consistently discussing are defensive coaches. So if you're trying to go that route, which a lot of organizations in the NFL are right now, he's going to be at the top of virtually every single list. So he's going to be able to look at all the jobs that come open and say, that's the one I want. It's going to be that meme just walking through, picking out whatever you want to buy, the Michael Jackson one. So that's kind of where we are right now with Ben Johnson.